right, so there we go. Good morning, everybody. We're doing Let's Talk Travel with April, David, and Amina today. And we're talking about 3 great tours that are happening this summer. So I'm real excited to hear about all of them. I know a little bit about each one of them, but I want to hear more details. So we're real excited. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so let's start. I'm just going to go around the room and have each of you tell us a little bit about your tour, which one you're highlighting this morning. April, do you want to go first and just give us a quick highlight of your September photo tour to Alaska, right?
Yep, going to Alaska. It's really a big road trip. I cover the spine of Alaska, I call it. We start in Anchorage, go up to Fairbanks. For those that can't do the full 10 days, because it is a kind of a 10-day trip in total. They can fly out of Fairbanks and cut off the end of the trip. So if you're working and need to come pack that time, we do cover it over the September, which in the United States is a Labor Day holiday. So for a lot of working people, they get that extra day. We see, hopefully, the Northern Lights, which, knock on wood, I've been very lucky. The reason I like to go at this time is just that mix of, you know, being out on the water and seeing the migrating animals and the glaciers, and then going into Denali National Park and the tundra is changing color and you get like lots of oranges and greens and beautiful trees, and the moose are rutting, and so the moose are close to the road. You don't have to be hiking for miles and encountering bears outside of a bus. We stay in the safety of a vehicle, a bus if you like. We do have a National Park Service guide with us who's telling us things as we're seeing it. They've got amazing eyes. It's amazing how far away they can spot a speck and tell us it's a bear, and we're all looking out the window. Those are really some of the highlights. It's an amazing trip. It's great for anyone. You don't have to be super active. And in fact, because we cover about 1,500 miles in total, if you do the whole thing, there are days we are sitting, riding along, singing songs, but whenever we see something beautiful, amazing, we hop out a lot. I'm very much about going with the flow and being flexible with that. I mean, I'm very open to opportunities. We go into small towns, and we've met Iditarod winners just because we walked into a little local market and started engaging the locals, and someone's come up and talked to us. So super excited. I keep it small, about 6 to 8 people total.
Okay, great. Thanks, April. It sounds so exciting, especially seeing the wildlife and all the sites in Alaska. If it's not, Alaska's not on your bucket list, it should be there. Okay, David, let's hear a little bit about your trip that you have coming up. This is the Bike the Blue Ridge Parkway in June, right?
Yep, we're riding across the Blue Ridge Parkway on our bicycles June 18th, 26th. It is a trip for very active people. If you love your bike, you'll love riding with us. So basically, we start in Asheville, North Carolina. We ride up Mount Mitchell, the highest mountain in the entire east coast of the United States. And we continue along our way until we get to Charlottesville, Virginia. It's one of my favorite tours. We go in June, so it's just before it gets too hot, but after all the snow's melted on those high peaks. It's just tons of fun. It's 9 days long. You have to be fit, but if you go riding on the weekends and can go for a few hours, you can probably do this trip. I'd say some of my favorite parts are Peaks of Otter, which is this really cool campground and lodge. There's this beautiful lake. There's this really great hike there. Mount Mitchell, of course, the highest peak is over 6,000 feet. So that's always a treat to get to go to the top of that. You can see for, I don't know, miles and miles around. And then just the experience of camping on a bike tour with people. You know, you're working all day, you're accomplishing these great climbs, and then you get to sit around the campfire, eat too much, and share the stories of the day with everybody. So looking forward to seeing some of you out there. It's a ton of fun.
Thanks, David. That does sound like a lot of fun. The hills and the climb sound a little crazy, but I'm sure there's plenty of folks out there that would be really eager to do it. Plus, it's a challenge for yourself, right? Like, it's something you can say you did. So what a great opportunity. So Amina, you're up next, and you have a photo tour in Uganda and Tanzania in June. Did I get the date right? It's in June.
Correct. Yep. Yep. So it's from June 22nd to July 9th, and it's 17 days in total. We're doing 10 days in Uganda, 6 days in Tanzania. And I'm a little bit different because I incorporate It's a photo tour. So throughout the tour, regardless of where we're going, what we're seeing, I'm helping you improve your photography with hands-on instruction and frequent group reviews. We sit around after dinner, have some drinks, have some laughs, and we review each other's photos, and we get to learn from each other. And then the second thing we do is a lot of cultural immersion. I'm a big believer that regardless of where you travel, you really need to get to know the locals because they're beautiful people, and it breaks down borders and stereotypes. And especially after COVID, when we've been stuck in our little holes and haven't seen the world and haven't met other people, I think it's more essential than ever. Plus, it supports the local economy. So we really like to choose our lodging, our restaurants, or whatever we're doing where it's local based and it's not foreign owned. So the locals are benefiting. And then I incorporate our philanthropic side, which is Cameras for Girls. So I own a charity called Cameras for Girls. And when you come to Uganda, that's built into that 10 days. So over 3 days, you get to sit in as I teach photography and business skills to females in Africa who are endeavoring to be journalists. I started both companies at the same time, and this will be our third training that we go back. I'm so excited because you get to meet these incredible women. You get to see the impact that dollars that you're spending make. And not only that, but we're going to be doing gorilla trekking. We're going to be doing safaris. We're going to be doing off the beaten track where only the locals really know about these places, and you won't find them on any other photo tour. And then in Tanzania, we're doing the migration, both by land, but also by hot air balloon. So we'll get a hot air balloon ride over the migration. And also you'll get to do the Ngorongoro crater that way. We meet the Maasai tribe, we meet the Asai tribes, and you get to really understand culture and really get immersed into Africa, basically. So yeah.
Wow, Amina, that sounds like a bucket list trip as well, like something that
It
just
definitely is.
Yes, absolutely, that you need to put on your list if it's not there. So, so we have 3 great trips planned this summer, sounds like, but both Amina and David's are in June, and then April's is in September, so there's plenty of time to still, sign up and so forth. So let's just talk a little bit, but all 3 of you are doing tours that are skill-based, right? There's photography and then we have biking. Let me just ask if I need to be a photographer or a biker to go on the trip, and like how, I know you touched a little bit on that, David, maybe we'll start with you, like how active, and is there training that you need to do ahead of time? And then when we get to April and Amina, maybe you guys can tell us, how much of a photographer you need to be to feel comfortable going along. Let's start with you, David.
You do have to be a cyclist to go on the biking trips. We offer a few trips where for the beginner cyclists. The one in June on the Blue Ridge is more of an advanced cyclist. We'll be going over 400 miles. We'll be climbing more than the height of Mount Everest. It's a big challenge, and if it's a lot of people ride on the parkway, not very many get to ride the entire thing.
Okay.
If you're someone who's been riding a few years, you go out on the weekends, that kind of thing. Maybe you do triathlons. That's how I got my start. Fine. And when you sign up for the trip, we give people recommendations. We help you train. We also have, if you live in the Maryland area, we have group rides that are free. A couple times a month, you can come ride with us. We're hoping to get down to Skyline Drive sometime soon, which is very similar to the Blue Ridge Parkway. So you do have to be a cyclist. You don't have to be Lance Armstrong.
That's good to know. And you do have you're bringing a sag wagon to help with the gear, that sort of thing. So even though camping, you got that. And give us an idea of how many miles per day. I think that'll give some folks just in their head.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. Yeah, we'll be carrying everyone's gear. We have a sag wagon full of tons of snacks and drinks, which is key, as every cyclist knows. The biggest day we're doing, I think, is about 60 miles. A lot of climbing, and the smallest day we're doing is about 30 miles with a lot of descending.
Right.
So, we throw some really big challenges at you. If anything's ever too much, you can always hop in the van and we'll drive you to the next side of the mountain, and you can keep riding. But we try to give people a challenge. There's a real sense of accomplishment you have when you get to the top of that mountain and you sweat it and you ask, why the heck did I go on this tour? I've been there. And then when you finally get to the top, it's a great sense of achievement and something you'll carry with you forever. So we try to throw some of that in there. And then some other days where, we only ride for a couple hours. We get to like Roanoke, Virginia, for instance, and we find a cool brewery, a really cool restaurant, and we do some daytime excursions, or Peaks of Otter will go on a hike to overlook the whole mountain range. So there's kind of a mix in there.
Okay, perfect. That's kind of, I think that gives people a feel of where they need to be. All right. So then Amina, tell us about how expert do you need to be with your camera? What if you just bought your camera? Do I need to have Ben? Give us a little idea of that.
Yeah, great question. I have a lot of people who are interested who are not photographers, and I always welcome them. And on our previous tours, we've had a mix of people who are totally into photography and they're gearheads, we call them. And then there's other people who are like just bringing their phone or a small point and shoot. And I say to anybody, if you have the desire to learn and improve, come along, because this is not geared to professional photographers. There are enough photo tours out there who only market to professional photographers, and it leaves out everybody else. And, I want to be inclusive. And what I also offer is, if you have no clue how to operate your camera before we even leave Canada or the US or where you're coming from, I sit with you on Zoom call and we go over the settings, and I make sure that you're comfortable using your camera so that when we get on safari, you're not like, what do I do? How do I get the shot? Because I want to get the shot, right? So selfishly, but also you want to feel comfortable with your camera. And so I say, regardless of what level you are, don't be shy or scared. It's inclusive. Everybody's made to feel comfortable. And in fact, one of the guys who's coming with us in June, he has no desire to do photography, but he has every desire to go and immerse himself in Africa and get that experience. So it's for anybody who has an interest, I would say.
Yeah, he's going to be a photographer when he leaves.
I already told him.
I have a sneaking suspicion.
Yeah, absolutely.
All that stuff, but you start out. So April, and your tours, you can tell us a little bit about how the camera version is.
Yeah, I think that's why Amina and I clicked. It's because it's very much similar. There's so many pro photography workshops, and that's how they're sold for Alaska, for many, many amazing scenic places, that I want to be super inclusive. And oftentimes maybe just one of us will have all the gear, and that might just be me. And I'm the one that's like, okay, hang on just a sec, one more second. Or everyone else is like, I'll just stay in the van and roll the window down. But yeah, I've had people with their iPhones, their cell phones, and those cell phones are getting so amazing.
Yes.
That I've even had people go out to the locations. We get up early if they want, and that's always an option too. I've never had anyone not want to go out at night and chase the northern lights, but again, once they see it, and they see it through the lens of a camera, because that is one instance, that phenomena, your natural eye doesn't see as many colors, doesn't see the same as what the camera is picking up. I mean, these cameras are amazing. They see more than our human eyes at times. And so once they're able to look through someone else's camera or see the digital picture that we're capturing, then it's like, oh my gosh. And it actually kind of teaches your eye at the same time then what you're looking for in that amazing phenomena. But very much so, it's very, non-photographers come all the time just because they want to see the sights and see the animals and see what they can see. And sometimes they sleep in the first couple of days, but by usually the third day, they're like, wait, you saw that yesterday and I didn't get to see it? And bang on my door, throw me in the car. So same thing, no matter what kind of camera you have, you're more than welcome. We do, and we're very inclusive. We help each other. How did you get that photo? Each camera is a little different. So sometimes it's just knowing where to find stuff in the menu, and being open to try stuff. Like I tell people that have these digital cameras, try every preset on there. Even don't miss the shot. The moose is gonna maybe leave, we have seconds sometimes, but so I encourage anyone that has a desire to see these places or experience these seasons, come along. It's going to be great. So
yeah. And I think the idea of a photo tour means that I'm putting my focus on what I'm seeing. So even if I'm not, I think you see more. I know when I walk with my camera, I see more than I do when I don't. because you have your eye up and you're looking for different things. So just the whole idea of being with a group of people that are focused on that, you're going to see, right? You're just going to see things like that's a moment. Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. So we talked about, I know some of you mentioned the dates and some of you mentioned the length of time. So I'm going to go back around and ask 2 questions. Remind us the dates and how many days your trip is. And then let's talk about the lodging. I think that's always a question. Where are we staying? I know David's doing some camping, but talk a little bit about, do I need to be an experienced camper, David? And that kind of thing. So we'll start with you, David, again. The dates, how many days? And then let's talk about where we sleep at night.
Yeah, June 18th through 26th. It's 9 days long, and we're riding all 9 of those days. And so one of the things that we do that's a bit different than some of the other companies you might see is that we like to camp when possible. And it's really helps us stay true to the route and true to the trail. So you're on the Blue Ridge Parkway in this case, you're going along, you pop into a campground that's just as beautiful as the overlooks you're seeing, and you get to stay on the parkway. We don't have to shuttle down every day to a hotel. We don't have to deviate from our route. It allows us to go exactly where we want to go. It allows the riders to experience all the things that you would get if you were doing this tour on your own. Just we carry your stuff and feed you, is a big bonus. As far as camping experience, you don't need to know how to camp. You don't have to have any gear. We encourage people, we say we're tours for people who really like their own bikes. So we encourage people to bring their own bikes and their own camping gear, because we don't want to make you rent one if you don't want to. Like, the best bike is your bike, the best gear is your gear. But for the people who don't want to bring them or maybe don't have anything, we help facilitate rentals. We'll show you how to put your tent up. By day 9, you'll be pretty darn good at it, even if you've never seen it on day 1, I promise. And we help with all that. And with the camping too, we're not all shut in our hotel rooms every night. We're all together around the campfire, having campfire snacks, telling stories, getting to know each other. So it's camping most of the time. We do take a few breaks and stay at a hotel here and there to get a really good shower and a really good night's sleep. But yeah, we like to camp.
Yeah, I love camping too. And I love that camaraderie that comes with camping, because they're not in their tent. Everybody sits out and chats, and there's a lot of that communal stuff, communal eating and sharing and stuff that happens with camping. That's great. So how many, do you know how many nights you camp and how many nights you're in a hotel on this Blue Ridge tour?
So it's 9 days, there's 8 nights. I believe there are 6 nights of camping and 2 nights in either a hotel or a lodge.
Okay. Okay, so they do get a chance, like you said, to sleep in a real bed, because sometimes after a couple of days of that, you're ready, especially from all the biking. Okay, so we'll go to you, Amina. Can you tell us a little bit about your lodging situation? Again, the date, number of days, so that people got that at the top of their head, and then lodging.
Yep. So June 22nd to July 9th. And we fly into Entebbe, which is Uganda, and we fly out of Arusha, which is Tanzania. So just to keep that in mind. So 17 days in total. And it's a mix between hotels, lodges, and I'm a big believer that even though you're going to Africa and it's a bucket list trip, that every night should not be like the most expensive lodge, because that's where your money's going to. Right. And like education piece here, when you buy into those big expensive lodges, 9 out of 10 times they're owned by a foreign conglomerate, and the local people are not benefiting or getting paid well. Right. So we really try to choose lodging that has been locally owned. And they're anywhere between 4 and 5 stars. We do stay 2 nights in a very high end, because you have to have that out of Africa experience. Mm-hmm. And then we also do some high end camping camps, platform beds, the whole thing, right, in Tanzania, because we're in the bush in the Serengeti. It's quite something. And even when we're gorilla trekking, we stay in a lodge that's close by, and it neighbors the park, so you can literally hear the gorillas screeching or whatever, calling and stuff. Yeah, so it's a mix, but it's always comfortable. And we're very careful also that to be wary of malaria. So every place we stay has proper mosquito nets, because there are places where you'll go and there's a hole in the net, and by the next morning you're bitten to death, and yeah. So you got to be very up on that. So just another tip, that even if you're booking your own, that's the first question to ask. What is the bedding and what the net's like?
Yeah, good point. All right, it sounds amazing, and I like the idea of the platform tents. I've stayed in a few of those, and those are fantastic. I camped right on the ground too, David, but I like the platform tents.
Well, we stayed in one last time, and the elephants were brushing up against, and we were warned not to go out at night. And I had my camera ready, and then I fell asleep by the time it came around. And then the next morning, the guy said, "Did you see it?" And I'm like, "Did I see what?" And he said, "The elephant." And I'm like, "Bloody hell, no, I heard something." So
yeah, it's amazing. Well, and it's a great experience because you get to be closer to it, right? And
oh, absolutely, and you really get to appreciate nature, right, as it's meant to be.
Right, beautiful.
Yeah.
How about you, April? Give us the dates and the lodging a little bit.
Sure, yeah. So the dates are September 3rd through September 12th. And like I said, if someone really can't stay the whole time and needs to fly out of Fairbanks, they could fly out Wednesday or Thursday prior to that, or maybe just stay in Fairbanks and fly out, say, the Friday, and not do that last leg down to Seward. But that last leg is amazing, and out of Seward is where we go out and see the glaciers and stay right on the water. And our lodging is very local. Princess Cruises has gone into Alaska and put up some amazing places to stay, and only as a last resort when everything else is booked, because we are at the very last, we're including that Labor Day holiday. So depending on how quickly I'm able to secure rooms for everyone, occasionally I do have to stay in one of those just so we have a bed and a shower at night. Everyone gets their own room because in our case, kind of converse to David, we're all crowded together all day, riding along in one vehicle and sharing stories and laughing and eating lunch together. So by the end of the day, sometimes, this allows people to have some, alone time, some downtime, and to recharge. Because the other aspect of this Alaska trip is the time. Sometimes we have to get up super early to get out and see the animals and get into Denali. And then the next day we need to stay out from like 10 p.m. when it gets dark until like 3 or 4 if the aurora is dancing and happening. So it's just like trying to balance and allow you some time to sleep. You got to sleep in there somewhere. But as much as possible, I really try to seek out the locally owned small inns. Alaska's a little bit more for outdoors people, but the beds have always been comfortable. I always usually try to put us as close to a scenic location, whether that's the river, the ocean, the dark sky. So if something does happen at night, we can pop out at night every night and take that opportunity and see the northern lights. So
beautiful. Yeah, it sounds great. All right, so we've got a few more minutes. I'm gonna add a couple extra because I want to ask this question because I think it's going to be fun. Hopefully we'll have time for it, which is tell us one of the big highlights of the tour. I know I can hear from all of you that there's at least 7 on each tour or more, but just give us one, like if there's one big reason why you should go or something that you want to see or that people really talk about. We'll go back around the same way. So David, any highlight that you would suggest for a biker?
Yeah, I mean, the number one highlight on any Blue Ridge tour is going to be summiting Mount Mitchell. And we do that on the very first day, and we do that so you have the freshest legs as part of the reason we go the direction that we do. So you start in Asheville and you ride about 20 miles and it's all up mountains, just up, 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 up. And you get to the base of Mount Mitchell and it's another, I think, about 4-mile steepest climb in the entire trip. You're at altitude now, so you can't breathe. I'm really selling it, I know. But when you crest the top of Mount Mitchell and you can see the entire Blue Ridge mountains laid out in front of you, you can see the city, you can just see everything. You have this nice cool breeze because you're sweating. And we always make sure we have a little treat to eat at the top, a little victory snack, giving away the trade secrets here, Snickers bars that have been are the way to go. It is just every time. I've probably summited Mount Mitchell 12 or 15 times now, and every single time it takes my breath away. And I would say if there's anything on this trip, do not miss that day. I don't care how tired you are, make it up the end to the top of Mount Mitchell. It's really beautiful.
Perfect. And you did sell it. I think for those who are into that, that is exactly the feeling, because you need a reward at the top, and it's going to have to be a little more than a Snickers bar. So the view is the deal, right?
I'll come along and drive your car
Yeah.
and take your photos for you. But yeah, like
Sounds
I would
beautiful.
love to do that. Yeah.
All right,
We'll talk
Amina,
later.
you have a ton of stuff on your list. Give us
There's
highlight.
a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, but I would have to say, because it's the year of, like, it's the only time of the year that the migration happens, right?
Okay.
So we're going to see it not only from floor level while driving through Safari and Serengeti, but we're going to get to see it above. So imagine as you see these wildebeest jumping and hopping, and they're running across the savannah.
Wow.
Right? And
Yeah.
it's just like, it's thunder. It's like it roars and thunders, and under your feet, you can feel it. In your belly, you can feel it, and you can just imagine, and the dust is flying everywhere. But just having that aerial view is so different from what everybody else is used to. I think that'll definitely be one. And if I can also mention the gorillas, because everybody wants to see the gorillas. And when you hear them call to each other, you think they're angry, but it's like the chimps. They're just calling to each other for community.
Okay.
But it'll make the hairs on your back like stand up. But it is to see them so close.
Yes.
And it's like you're in awe. Like anytime you see wild animals where they should be, you're in awe. And it's just I never get tired of it. So
yeah,
I would have to say
for me, seeing the animals is cool, but it's always so much cooler to see them in their habitat where they belong, right? And when you see them in that space, doesn't matter whether it's a moose or a gorilla, it's awe-striking, right? Like how large they are, how their ease of movement, like there's just so many things about that.
It puts your world into perspective, right?
Yes.
And it gives you respect, or hopefully it gives you more respect for nature and for wildlife where they should be. And I can't go to the zoo anymore. My daughter's like, can we go to the zoo? I just can't. It's spoiled, right? Because it breaks my heart to see in captivity.
Yes.
But it really gives you more sense of respect, and how we should all have more responsibility to take care of our natural resources and natural places. So,
absolutely. All right, April, we have 2 minutes. Highlight for Alaska, which I know there's a ton of those too.
I think the main thing is if we're able to see the Northern Lights. Once you see it happen, I mean, last year we literally popped out to the parking lot. It had just started to get dark, and we could see it in Fairbanks in our parking lot, this big green band starting to happen. And it literally, you just get so excited. And then when it starts to dance, there's just this electricity. And some people say it makes a noise. I've never experienced that, but it has brought me to tears when the sky just is electric, and you've got arcing and movement, and it's dancing, and it's just so amazing. It just brings chills. And again, just you can imagine years and years ago, if you didn't have technology, if you didn't really understand what was happening, you might think, oh my gosh, is the sky cracking open and we're just going to all fall off this planet. I mean, it's really just unexpected, and it's just super amazing. And once you've seen it, you kind of get the bug. And a lot of us that's happened to, you do. That's why you keep going back. You keep going back. It's intoxicating. It's just,
that's a good word. I like
and to
that.
share it with other people, I think is even more so. Like when I mean, one of my tours, really quick, someone they didn't really understand, and then when it started happening, it was like it all made sense. Why we're standing out here and it's not super cold that time of year, but it all came into. They're like, oh, this is what it's about. It's like, oh yes. And you're all screaming sometimes and crying and dancing. It's just this whole bubble of emotions.
Oh, that sounds amazing. All right. So this is great. Leslie is asking about Amina's trip and the date. So I'm going to have you I'm just going to go around and say the name of your trip, the dates, and the name of your website where they can find you. So we'll start Amina with you, because Leslie's asking. So you want to tell her
Yep.
dates and-
So trip date is June 22nd to July 9th.
Okay,
My company name is Triple F Photo Tours. I guess you'll put the link there.
I will.
And then what was the next question?
I was just asking the name of the trip so they can find it
Oh,
on your
yes.
site.
The ultimate photo tour to Uganda and Tanzania.
Perfect. David, you want to give us the same stuff?
It's called Ride the Ridge Bicycle Tour. We ride across the Blue Ridge Mountains June 18th through 26th. That's 9 days. And our company is called Blaze Adventure Tours, and it's named after our dog Blaze. He's our mountain. So if you join us on the tour, you'll get to see Blaze on the last couple days.
Perfect. And April?
Yep,
dates?
it's fall photo trips or yourphototravelguide.com. And the dates are September 3 through 12.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank you guys. We've gone over a couple of minutes on our half an hour, but this was fantastic.
Thank you
And
so much.
Thank
who
you.
didn't get a chance to
Thank
watch,
you.
hopefully they're watching the recording. We'll drop the comments, some of the information in the descriptions. If you come back to this later today, you'll see all of the websites and links and so forth. So thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.